regular unprotected intercourse, when they are not up to 35 years, they can wait for 1 year. And when the woman is more than 35 years, then it's 6 months before we start doing the investigations and therefore treating. But we also know that as the age of the woman advances, we can never be tired of talking about age when we're talking about reproduction. That the same woman who in her 30s, before 35, she has about 20% chance of conceiving every month. By the time she's about 40, has only a 5% chance of conceiving per month. And therefore, we need to be very aware of the age and to be able to do things and schedule things so that we can be able to take advantage of the natural reproductive cycle. Now, for you to have a baby this year, there are 3 things you have to consider, okay? If you are planning to have a baby naturally before we come to having a baby through assistance, which IVF happens to be one of them. If you're planning to have a baby this year, 3 things you must take note of. One is the importance of having regular, unprotected intercourse. When we say regular, we mean intercourse must be 2 to 3 times in a week. Okay, I'm sure you know that there is a special thing now happening all over the world. The world has become a global village. So you now see husband and wife living thousands of miles away from each other. That also poses a problem for reproduction. But that even some people living in the same country, they're living thousands of miles away from one another. One person is living in Abuja, another person is living in Lagos. Of course, when that happens, then the next thing is for you to be aware of what we call to have ovulation knowledge. Why is it important to have the knowledge of ovulation? Because that is the only time within the cycle when a woman is fertile. And this happens 5 days before your ovulation and then on the day of ovulation. And that's it for the month. And this is based on the fact that the sperm can survive for about 5 days in the woman's reproductive tract, but this egg can only survive 12 to 24 hours. Okay. And the third thing now is that a healthy lifestyle is important. And when we talk about lifestyle, we're talking about your weight, we're talking about what you eat, we're talking about light exercise, we're talking about habits like cutting down your caffeine, no to hard drugs, no to cocaine, no to marijuana, and then don't use unprescribed drugs. All right. So, but that's not what I just thought maybe we should mention that because everything about us is not only about talking about IVF. We also, for people who can have their own babies and we can help without any form of assistance, just advising them and giving them what to look out for, we're also part of that. But today, like I said, it's a special day for our patients, people who have gone through IVF, who are going to share their experience with you, because we think some people know that they need IVF, but they're afraid for different reasons. Some are afraid that it might fail. Some are afraid that they don't even know whether it's safe or it's not safe. And so it's very important when people who have gone through this process share their experiences with other people. And you can ask them questions and they'll be willing to answer the questions. So I think particularly I'm so excited to introduce the first person that's going to be talking today, Vivian Patrick. Vivian made it all the way to the clinic in order to make sure that the network does not disappoint, that everything, and she's able to answer questions. She's joined by a lot of people, but she made sure that she came here to make sure that you can hear whatever she wants to say. So it gives me great pleasure to welcome Vivian. Vivian, how are you doing?
I'm very fine, sir. Good evening. Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes, it's a pleasure to have you. Probably it will be of more pleasure if we can even see your face, if that's possible. Oh, great, great. Okay. So, Vivian, yeah. So the floor is just yours. Just tell us about your experience with that. Oh, maybe before I go on, let me just introduce you completely and say there is a peer support group, okay, for infertility, and you happen to be the vice president of that group.
Yes.
So the group is called FI. I'm saying it that so that people who want to join in that group also can take advantage of it. This is a group where you talk about everything about infertility, share experiences, and I call it a fellowship. And I think it's very important that people are aware of this. So Vivian, the floor is yours.
Thank you once again, sir. Like he rightly said, my name is Vivian Patrick, and I'm here to share my Nordica experience. The waiting journey is not an easy one. It's not an easy one. All of us we know. And I just thank God that he gave me that opportunity to go through IVF and have a success story. It took 5 years. Took 5 years of waiting, of crying, of praying, of waiting, of doing all that I need to do to, be a mom, for us to be parents. And what we were battling with was what we call male fertility, infertility. It was a tough one on myself and my partner. And kept on running tests, going to the hospitals. They will say this, they will say that. And at the point, they said, our only option is IVF. And I'm like, wow, wow, wow. But I embraced it because I made inquiries. I began to um study everything about IVF, began to read up rather on IVF, and I saw it as a great thing, a great innovation, and I also saw God's hand in it. From all I read about IVF, I knew that IVF cannot work, cannot pull through, cannot be successful if God is not in it. So I embraced it and went to Nordica, got the opportunity, went to Nordica, and all the process started. They canceled me, put me through, the do's and the don'ts, ran series of tests, checkups, and all of that to be sure that okay, that I am fine, I am good to go. They checked my BMI, make sure my age, all the things that are supposed to make it successful were done, and they also ran what's it called? Sperm analysis on my partner too, and all of that. So, the journey that began when I was given treatments, injections, and tablets to take for a period of time. That is to help stimulate my ovaries for them to be able to get eggs. Yes. And I kept, and those injections, you have to take it yourself. You have to take it yourself. So, IVF somehow made me a mini nurse. A mini nurse, because I had to start injecting myself. And I wake up at a certain time. And I think mine was 10 p.m. every day. I have to make sure I'm awake at that time and inject myself with those injections. And after some time I go back to Nordica. They do what's it called, scan, to check the ovary, the eggs, how they are developing and all of that. So I went through that for like weeks, till the point where they believe that we've gotten enough eggs, and I went through the extraction of the eggs. I was put to sleep, and they got the eggs, and I had to also wait for the eggs to be fertilized and turn into embryos. And you know at a point I felt I felt heartbroken. It's all of this is part of the journey. Trust me, it's part of the experience. That we're unable to get embryos because the sperm couldn't fertilize the eggs, and I felt down. I was down. I was pain. I cried, and but I picked up myself again. I'm like, okay, IVF is the way to go. So I have to pick up myself again and get ready to try again. Because if you fall, you have to try again until you get there. It's not easy, but trust me, with God, it's going to be okay. So I picked up myself, went through the same process for the second cycle, and the same thing happened again. No embryos. The egg and the sperm were not fertilizing. And at this point, I'm like, okay. I didn't cry, but I was like, okay, maybe there's something I'm not also doing right. I don't know. Maybe I wasn't trusting God enough. Maybe I was trying to like pull it all on my own and forgetting that, this is God in this thing. And, I relaxed. I calmed myself down, took some time, and I came back again the third time. And this time I just went in, not trying to like do this, not trying to like walk on my own. I just, went all in, leaving everything in God's hand, taking every instructions the doctor, you know, dished out to me and everything. And, you know, surprisingly, they got 5 eggs, extracted 5 eggs. And out of these 5 eggs, 2 were mature. One was matured, 2 was bad, and 2 was immature. And when the nurses called me to, because after the extraction, you'll go home to rest, to recover from, the extraction of the eggs. So while I was at home, I got the call that, okay, this is what we got, this is what we have. We have just egg, one mature egg. That 2 is bad, the other 2 are immature. And I'm like, okay, no problem. If the mature one would fertilize and would get an embryo, no problem. Let's move on. I was determined to free my mind. I was determined not to be upset. I was determined not to let anything, bother me. It was in the hands of God, that God should just do what he knows how to do best. Walk through the doctors. I was praying for understanding, for wisdom, for knowledge, for the doctors to, to do what they need to do. And I trusted God that this circle was the last circle. And, trust, I was so glad. I got a call again that the 2 immature ones, because they had to, incubate it, and it developed, fertilized, and we got 3 embryos. 3. I was so glad, I was so happy, and those 3 were transferred right into me. And, and after 2 weeks of waiting, I got this young boy here, and I was so glad. I was so happy. Jaden, say hello. Say hello. What's your name? Jaden. Good. So I was so glad, after the third trial, the third circle, God gave me this, cute boy, so intelligent. See, look at him. There's nothing wrong with him. He had the false sick, very intelligent, very smart. And, I am so grateful to Nordica for this, experience and everything, So I want to use this medium to encourage those of us that are waiting and trusting God. Trust me, if IVF is the way to go for you. Trust me, there's nothing wrong with it. God is in it. Just go through it and, keep trusting God. Everything is going to work out well. Thank you very much.
Wow, wow, wow. Okay, Vivian, I've never really heard your story up to this. I think we're going to do this again. There's so many
Okay.
things I picked up in this that I really want to emphasize on, but time will not permit me here. One of the
Okay.
important things you said is that you read up. And that is one thing that is missing in most of our patients. They just come like blank, and they're sometimes expecting a cat to fly. So, and that makes the job very, very tedious sometimes.
Yeah.
You said, and you had this experience that the eggs did not fertilize 2 times,
Yes.
and
Yes.
you had the courage to go a third time.
What time?
And that's, for me, I think that's golden. We really are going to talk about this because I wanted you to, but I will not ask now until we have that kind of program where we can talk about why IVF cycles fail. I think that's one program that I'm going to invite you to maybe later.
Okay.
Yeah. So thank you so very much. Yes, I
Thank you,
think
sir.
now so many people are joining from different parts of the world. Okay.